A very tight congressional race in San Diego could help change the balance of power in Congress. I'm Dwayne Brown. We'll have the latest poll numbers tonight on KPBS Evening Edition.
And I'm Peggy Pico. Coming up, a local scientist explains how Hurricane Sandy may help San Diego prepare for a new climate reality. Plus, the ACLU sues Homeland Security over citizens' rights to take pictures at nearby border crossings.
And we'll take you on a tour of San Diego's haunted theaters this Halloween night. KPBS Evening Edition starts now.
KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Erwin Jacobs and by
Hello, good evening. Thanks for joining us. A new poll shows a dead heat in a San Diego congressional race that could help change the balance of power in Congress. The poll shows Republican Congressman Brian Bilbray evenly tied with Democrat Scott Peters in the 52nd district. It has a 4-point margin of error. Survey USA found Peters leading among younger voters and Bilbray leading among older ones. The survey was done for our media partner, 10 News. The candidates in the San Diego mayor's race are sprinting toward the finish line. They held their last debate today, and one of the campaigns got a national boost. KPBS Metro reporter Katie Orr joins us from the News Center. So, Katie, who does the latest endorsement come from, and who is it for?
Dwayne, Congressman Bob Filner announced today that former President Bill Clinton is endorsing him in the race. It's a big endorsement that comes with less than a week left until the election. The two men know each other. Filner says he's worked with Clinton on various issues. Of course, Clinton used to vacation in this area when he was in office and has recently talked about how much he likes San Diego. Filner says Clinton hadn't planned on endorsing anyone below the level of Congress, but he says he was able to convince Clinton that the San Diego mayor's race was important enough to weigh in on. Clinton has recorded a phone message that Filner says will go out to hundreds of thousands of voters, and we have a recording of part of the call now.
Hello, this is President Bill Clinton. I'm asking you to join me in supporting Bob Filner for mayor.
And what does Filner's opponent, Katie, say, Councilman Carl DeMaio, about this endorsement?
Well, he responded with a somewhat terse two-line statement. His campaign says the mayoral election will be decided by San Diego voters and that his campaign is proud of its broad and bipartisan support, including endorsements from Mayor Jerry Sanders, Qualcomm founder Erwin Jacobs, who is a Democrat, and District Attorney Bonnie Dumanis.
And, of course, we should also note Erwin Jacobs is a KPBS supporter. Metro reporter Katie Orr. California election officials expect voter registration to reach an all-time high, more than 18 million voters. And for the first time ever, San Diego County has more voters choosing no party preference than registered Republicans. Student activists staged a political debate at San Diego State trying to drum up enthusiasm among young voters who were credited with helping President Obama win in 2008. Some activists say students may not be as eager to vote now because of the struggling economy.
Especially hard-hit people who are young, people like us who are going out trying to get their first job, trying to start their career. So I think that they're not satisfied with that.
While, you may not care about the president, there's things like the death penalty and Proposition 30 and all these things that are going to affect us here.
More than 31,000 CSU students are registered to vote this year. Remnants of Superstorm Sandy are blowing across Northeast tonight. President Obama got his first look today at the destruction Sandy left behind in New Jersey. He promised residents the government will not quit until the cleanup and recovery are complete. New York City is on its way back to normal after the storm. The subways are still shut down, so a lot of folks walk to work today, and they're being urged to carpool 3 to a car. San Diego gas and electric workers will head back east tomorrow morning to help get the power back on. New York's governor says hurricanes like Sandy are part of a new climate reality they need to prepare for. Peggy Pico finds out what it could mean for coastal areas in San Diego.
While San Diego may not be threatened by a hurricane like the one that slammed the East Coast, we do have other concerns. Here to talk about some of those climate extremes is Brian Holland, Climate Director at the San Diego for International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives. Brian, thanks for joining us. Do you agree with the statement, this was in regards to Hurricane Sandy, that we have a new climate reality that we need to prepare for as a nation?
Absolutely, yeah. You're seeing it with Hurricane Sandy. We've seen it all year with regards to drought in the Midwest, extreme heat and power outages in the Mid-Atlantic, and now Hurricane Sandy. And the projections are that this is only going to get more intense.
How about here in San Diego? When we talk about climate change, rattle off a few things that are maybe not weather affected, but actually climate changes that we might be looking at.
Well, with climate change, what we expect to see is more extreme events, for one thing. So we're expecting more wildfire, potentially more drought in the region, longer and more frequent heat waves, and then sea level rise. And that's what a lot of our work has been focused on recently.
That's right. Your group developed a sea level rise strategy for San Diego. I looked at the document. It's quite lengthy and it's quite extensive. What sort of strategies could you highlight for us that you would like to see happen here as far as preparing for a rise in sea level?
Yeah, well, one thing is more research. We need a better understanding of what exactly we should expect. But we're looking at something between 1 foot and 1.5 feet of sea level rise by 2050 and as many as 5 feet by 2100. So we need to elevate our infrastructure. We need to do things like beach replenishment and wetlands restoration, and generally be thinking about the future.
I noticed in your report there were certain areas in San Diego that were more vulnerable than others. One, what are those areas, and why are certain areas you'd think the whole coast would be vulnerable? Yeah,
well, it's especially the low-lying areas. You know, there are places on the coast that have bluffs and they're situated a little bit higher. When you look around the bay at some of the low-lying areas, Lindbergh Field is situated almost at sea level. Paradise Creek in National City, Sweetwater Marsh. So we've focused on some of these really low elevation areas, and you know, that's generally where the focus is placed first.
What's being done right now to prepare for this? Because this is going to take decades to do when we're talking sea level rises. So is there anything being done here in San Diego?
There is, yeah. So, you know, the infrastructure and development that we're undertaking today is going to be here for 40, 50, 60 years. And so we've got to be thinking about what does that future look like as we're building things now. Chula Vista, for example, is redeveloping their bayfront, building offices, homes, hotels, and they've built in some projections for sea level rise into their ordinances, how high they're going to be building everything. So they built in an extra 1.5 feet to anticipate what they might see in 2050. And
people who don't live on the coast should care about this because of, talk a little bit about the infrastructure you're talking about that's in danger when we're talking about maybe freeways or power sources. What sort of infrastructures are at risk with a rise in the sea?
Yeah, there's infrastructure that serves the whole region, so not just people's homes, but you look at wastewater infrastructure, for example. The pump stations are very low-lying, and if those go down, you start getting backups in wastewater and effects on water quality. Look at transportation. Some of our major transportation arteries are in vulnerable areas, and then the airport as well. That affects the whole region. And it's not just the infrastructure. The implications of this are that it affects the regional economy. And it affects regional quality of life as a whole.
Certainly, tourism and the Navy here, some of our main, obviously our main economic contributors here. What can folks, if anything, can we do about, the ocean's going to rise? Can we do anything about it at home?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of building community awareness and getting involved in local policymaking. So when we're doing plans for regional transportation over the next 40 years to make sure that climate impacts are part of that. When we're looking at water planning, that kind of thing.
Do you think city officials are willing to spend money right now on climate change when there's no disaster pending?
Right, yeah, it's hard, especially because local governments are so resource strapped right now. There are a lot of things that can be done. We call them no regrets. If it doesn't end up that we're seeing a lot of impacts as much as we thought we were, these are things we want to do anyway, and they're low cost, So things like building more public access on the coast or preserving green space.
There's certainly some more infrastructure things. We are unfortunately out of time. Brian Holland of ICLEI, thanks so much for talking with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
The use of unmanned aerial vehicles or drones is growing fast, so fast it's put aerospace back on the list of top defense contractors in San Diego. A new report shows the industry is creating thousands of well-paying jobs. KPBS reporter Allison St. John has the story.
So it's estimated that the federal government invested more than $1 billion in the creation and manufacture of unmanned aerial vehicles in San Diego last year. About 2,000 jobs were created by that investment, and about 7,000 jobs depend indirectly on that money. The main companies who are benefiting from the contracts are Northrop Grumman and General Atomics, but there are several smaller businesses that are also benefiting from that federal investment. The study was done by the National University System Institute of Policy Research and sponsored by the San Diego North Chamber of Commerce, because many of those jobs are in the northern part of San Diego. The aerospace industry historically used to be the major employer in San Diego, but after the Cold War, that kind of declined. And this is really a resurgence of that industry. In the last 10 years, the amount of money going into unmanned aerial vehicles and the development of them has actually surpassed shipbuilding and space war research. There is some ambivalence as to the use of drones in domestic surveillance, for example, but the writer of the report, Kelly Cunningham, points out that that's what makes this industry so promising, because even though there may be military budget cuts for for defense spending rather, the use of these unmanned aerial vehicles for domestic and commercial purposes is only going to continue to grow.
The average person throws away 4.5 pounds of trash every day. That adds up to more than 1,400 pounds per person a year. In the city of San Diego, most of the trash ends up in the Miramar landfill. With a city population of more than 1 million, San Diego generates a whole lot of trash. In fact, 910,000 tons of food, paper, plastic, and other waste end up at the Miramar landfill every year. And the dance of trucks and tractors dumping and compressing trash happens 7 days a week. At this pace, the city's only landfill will likely reach capacity in less than 10 years. That's why San Diego is doing another study to see what's being recycled and what's being thrown away to extend the landfill's life.
Renee Robertson. I'm with the City of San Diego. I'm a recycling specialist.
Robertson has been on the job 3 years and is a native San Diegan. She says, we're doing pretty good with a 65% recycle rate, but we're still 10% short of the goal.
The state just adopted a goal to get everybody statewide to 75%, so we're doing really well, but there's definitely things that we can do better, and you can see when you look at the trash, there's clearly recyclables still making it to the landfill.
The last study 12 years ago showed lots of construction material was getting into the landfill.
And that was just from the construction boom. There's over 500,000 tons of that was coming in last time we did the study. So now we expect, since we have a C&D diversion deposit program in place, we expect to see that a lot lower.
I was surprised to see how quickly the landscape changes at Miramar. 3 years ago, the landfill was at the level of a pool of water on the site. It's now 20 or 30 feet higher and tightly compressed under a ground of smelly trash. Crews isolate 200-pound samples from trucks and separate them into 90 different types of waste to see who's doing what with their waste, from the military and businesses to apartments and homeowners.
We're looking at the low-hanging fruit, so that's the biggest, most cost-effective way to divert materials from the landfill, is to look at what's still going there, the biggest piece, and then cut that piece out of the pie and divert it to a recycling market.
Now, the results of the study will be used to improve the city's recycling programs and outreach efforts. We are just getting word Escondido Police Chief Jim Mahar will step down from the post at the end of the year. Mahar has been on the job for 6 years. He's been on paid leave since last month. City officials said it was because of an in-house personnel investigation. They say Mahar was interviewed as a witness in it, and the investigation is ongoing. In a statement tonight, Mahar says he's been honored to lead the department. He says it's hard to leave, but it's clear it's time to move on.
I'm Gwen Eiffel on the next news hour, the aftermath of the deadly storm and the politics of the campaign ground game as seen from Wisconsin. That's Wednesday on the PBS NewsHour.
The ACLU is suing Homeland Security over the rights of citizens to take video and photos at border crossings. Peggy Pico has more on the lawsuit.
According to the ACLU suit, U.S. Border Patrol officers detained 2 men in separate incidents and deleted photos the men took at the Calexico and San Ysidro ports of entry. Joining me is David Loy, legal director for the ACLU of San Diego and Imperial counties. U.S. Customs and Border Protection declined our request to be interviewed, saying they could not comment on ongoing litigation. But David, you're here, so tell us what Ray Askins said happened to him at the border back in April.
Mr. Askins was standing on a public street in the city of Calexico taking photographs of the outside of the port of entry building from the U.S. side to illustrate a PowerPoint he was preparing to talk about environmental problems at the border in terms of vehicle emissions at the port of entry, when several CBP agents emerged from the port, grabbed him, detained him, harassed him, frisked him, took his camera, deleted his photographs. Department of Justice itself says law enforcement should never delete photographs.
The ACLU is also representing, in this case, self-proclaimed activist Christian Ramirez for a similar incident back in 2010. What happened there?
Mr. Ramirez had just crossed through the border. He had been in Tijuana with his wife, visiting family, had returning to the United States, had passed through inspection already, and was crossing a pedestrian bridge on his way, on the U.S. side again, when he saw CBP agents doing an outbound checkpoint. He was concerned that male agents were conducting frisks and pat-down searches of women. He wanted to document that in case it was a problem and just to have a record of it, as is his fundamental right to do. Used his phone to photograph it, was approached by security guards, was told not to photograph, continued photographing, continued descending the pedestrian bridge, surrounded by several agents who were very aggressive with him, one of whom said, "Give me a reason to take you down." Again, took his phone, deleted the pictures, and otherwise threatened and chilled his right to his fundamental First Amendment rights.
Just very briefly, aside from the photo, is it legal for a male border agent to pat down a female traveler?
It might be, it might not be. Part of the issue is we want to be able to document. We as citizens have a right to document the conduct of our government officials. We pay their salaries. We have a right to document their conduct.
CBP declined an interview, as I said earlier, but they did send a statement to KPBS telling us that they recognize that travelers will use electronic devices while waiting at the port. But once the inspection process begins, they said that the CBP prohibits the use of these devices in order to ensure the safety of the CBP officer and the traveling public, and to protect against the advancement of criminal activity. First of all, does the CBP in the suit admit that they did take those photos and delete them?
I don't know their position yet. We just filed the lawsuit, and so we're waiting for their response. In response to their statement, first, my clients were not in the inspection area. They were on the U.S. side of the border. Mr. Ramirez had already passed through inspection. Mr. Askins was on a public street belonging to the city of Calexico outside the port of entry. Second, even if they had been in the inspection process, there is no evidence that photographing conduct and actions that are already exposed to the public numerous times a day, no evidence that in any way threatens security. There is a fundamental First Amendment right to document government conduct, and there have been numerous abuses at ports of entry specifically.
Well, let's go back. You keep saying there's a fundamental right to document this. There's a right, but aren't there international security measures when you're talking about an international border that they say, hey, we have a right to protect our international borders? Does that supersede First Amendment right? So
the border is not a constitution-free zone. There is a fundamental First Amendment right to take photographs, period. There is also from anything that is knowingly exposed to public view. Second, there is an even more fundamental right to document the conduct of government agents, and there is a serious problem with abuses at ports of entry. We have filed an administrative complaint with DHS about serious abuses and violence and excessive force and humiliation perpetrated by border agents on innocent individuals at the ports of entry. It is fundamental that we as the public have the right to hold our government agents accountable, particularly at the border.
Are there other court rulings in similar cases? And if so, part two of that is, do these sort of court cases actually change behavior of law enforcement?
Well, government officials are bound to follow the law, and if we make law, we expect they will follow it. There are cases upholding the right to photograph and document, for example, the security measures taken by TSA. There are also cases upholding the fundamental right to photograph and videotape arrests in progress by police in public places. These are areas, and my clients were in areas that were open to the public. Okay, they weren't even in the inspection station, so that's, you know, that is just moot. But even if they were, we would still believe that their position, that CBP's position, is unlawful.
Okay, we are out of time. David Loy, legal director for the ACLU in San Diego and Imperial County. Thanks so much, and we'll have more of your interview from Midday Edition on our website.
Well, thank you very much.
So where's the best place to walk in San Diego County? National City got top honors. A group called Walk San Diego put out its first regional scorecard. It says National City has a dense pattern of low-volume streets and many destinations within walking distance of homes. Walk San Diego's executive director says hitting the streets helps people get to know their neighborhoods better.
We hear so much about social networks. The best social network you can ever get is to go for a walk and say hello to your neighbor.
La Mesa and Solana Beach came in second and third for best places to walk in the county. One downside for National City, though, it also had the county's highest rate of traffic accidents involving pedestrians. Well, a bit cloudy tonight for all the little ghosts and goblins. Cloudy, cooler weather is expected for the next couple of days. Here's a look at the forecast. Ghosts may come out on Halloween, but if you want to know where they live year-round, consider our local theaters. KPBS arts reporter Angela Carone takes us ghost hunting.
The ghost light is an iconic image in theater. Most theaters have one, and it stays lit all night long.
There's various reasons for this. One is purely safety.
Emily Roxworthy says the ghost light lights the stage so no one gets hurt. But that's not the only reason.
But sort of the more historical reason, the more interesting reason, is superstition. So one is the idea that after the theater goes dark, that ghosts come out, and that the ghost light might be able to ward off those ghosts.
Some people think that actors, as a profession, the profession of acting, doesn't allow you to go to heaven, and so you have to hang around, and therefore the spirits and souls of actors who have passed are living in the theater, and the ghost light is there so when everybody else goes home, they can come out on the stage and act at 2:30 in the morning.
Turns out there are a lot of ghosts in our local theaters. Bear Garcia has worked security at the Old Globe Theater for 17 years. She would only agree to talk to us in a dark theater. She's often the last person in the Globe locking up.
In certain pockets of certain places, you feel a presence, like someone's watching you the whole time.
Garcia has heard noises in the Old Globe Theater that can't be explained.
I was writing my paperwork at about 12 midnight, getting ready to close out the evening, and all of a sudden I hear this woman's laughter. And it was kind of a playful yet creepy laughter.
Garcia thought an actor came back into the theater. She checked, didn't find anyone, so went back to work.
And the next thing you know, I hear it again. And this time, it kind of brought goosebumps to me, and I came on stage, and the stage was ice cold where I can just, I'm getting goosebumps now.
Most telling thing to me is it's just a spooky atmosphere when you're here late at night all by yourself. And you start to hear sounds, and things move. And it's just the kind of thing that people always point to and say there must be a ghost, and I think it's true.
Like other theaters in town, Signet Theater has its own share of strange, unexplainable events.
There's something, I don't know, again, there's something about the space, a theater space, where there's an energy, a puckish energy that will move things, change things. You set something down and you'll find it somewhere else. You will. I personally have seen in this theater, at the Old Town Theater where we have our home, I see things out of the corner of my eye. I'll see movement. I'll see it up in our grid, where I'll see, I think, somebody walking along on top of the grid, and you look up and there's nothing up there.
Signet's Sean Murray used to act at an old vaudeville theater downtown. One night, he and 3 other actors saw a ghost as they waited for an actress to finish her solo.
And we all kind of looked off stage, onto the stage, and the lady was out there performing by herself, facing the audience. And sort of right next to her and right behind her was a kind of shadow figure mocking her, doing her movements with her, and kind of making fun of her. We could, and all 4 of us saw it.
So I think that part of the reason that theater people are so superstitious is that there is a sense that what they're doing is dangerous, not only physically, bodily harm, but that they might, they might have stage fright on stage, they might drop their lines, they might be a disaster because it's a live show. So whatever they can possibly do to try to control the elements, to try to get the spirits on their side, they're going to try to do.
You're creating things in the air when you're doing live performance. You know, you're creating a show that's in everybody's minds, but when the show's gone, what happens to that energy when 200, 300, 400, 1,000 people come together in a space and experience something together? What happens to that energy when the lights go out and it's over? Something happens.
We may not know what happens in San Diego's theaters long after the crowds go home, but we do know that on stage, a single light bulb keeps burning through the night.
You can find Angela's ghost story along with the rest of tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night and safe Halloween.